The most dangerous moment in your life isn't when everything falls apart. It's when everything looks perfectly fine, but something inside you feels wrong. A quiet glitch in your mind. A pause where reality suddenly feels off. You question it for a second. Is this even real? But then you bury it. Because following that thought would destroy everything you feel. Your identity, your comfort, your sense of control. So you distract yourself. You stay busy. You avoid the silence. But deep down, you already know the truth. You are not ignoring it. You are delaying it. And the longer you run, the stronger it grows. Until one day, it doesn't just knock, it breaks you. You think you are in control of your life, but have you ever stopped to ask where your choices come from, what you want, why you want it, who defines success and failure for you? Since the moment you were born, you've been silently programmed. Your beliefs, your fears, your desires, they were shaped, guided, engineered. And the most dangerous part, you believe they're yours. Your entire identity is built on this illusion. Because if it breaks, you won't just lose control. You lose yourself. And maybe that's why you never go too deep. Because somewhere inside, you're afraid that if you see the truth, you won't recognize who you are anymore. Every day, you wake up and follow the same routine, the same pattern, the same goal, and you call it your life. But what if none of this was ever yours? What if you've been following an invisible script this whole time? A path designed so perfectly that you never stop to question it. But sometimes there's a moment, a crack, a thought. What if I just stop? And in that exact instant, your ego panics because it knows if you start questioning, you step out of control. And the truth is, your biggest battle was never with the world. It's with yourself. You don't actually want the truth. You want comfort. You want stability. You want the illusion to stay intact. Because truth is disruptive. It shakes you. It forces you to face things you've spent your whole life avoiding. So every time reality tries to wake you up, you scroll. You laugh. You ignore it. Not because it's wrong, but because your ego needs to survive. And ego survives on distraction. But one day, the distractions stop working. One night, you are alone with your thoughts. And that's when everything changes. Because that's the moment you either break or you wake up. There comes a day when your entire world collapses. Not loudly, but silently. A realization. A shift. Something small that changes everything. You don't understand it at first. You think you are falling apart, but you are not. You are breaking out. Your ego feels pain, but your soul feels freedom. And in that moment, you are faced with a choice. Go back to the comfort of life or step into the unknown truth. Most people run, few stay, and those who stay are never the same again. Your name, your personality, your identity, these are just layers, masks you've been wearing for so long that you forgot they are not you. The real you exists underneath all of it, but you've never truly looked. Because what if there's nothing there? Or worse, what if it's something completely different? So you stay on the surface, playing roles, leaving labels. But deep inside, there's a quiet emptiness. Not because something is missing, but because you've never met your real self. The system only works if you stay asleep, if you follow, if you don't question. Because a person who wakes up cannot be controlled. So you are given distraction, endless noise, fear, comfort, just enough to keep you busy but never aware. And it works until it doesn't. Because all it takes is one moment of awareness and the entire illusion starts to collapse. You think you're running from the world, but you're not. You're running from yourself. Every distraction, every habit, every excuse, it's all a way to avoid facing what's inside. Because deep down, you know there's something waiting there, something real, something uncomfortable. And until you face it, you'll keep running. But the truth is, no matter how far you go, you take yourself with you. The truth doesn't set you free instantly. First, it destroys you. It breaks your ego, shatters your identity, forces you to question everything you thought was real. And that's why most people avoid it. But what they don't realize is that destruction is the beginning of freedom. Because only when everything falls, collapses, can something real finally exist. After this, something will change. Maybe not immediately, maybe not visibly, but a thought will stay with you, a question you won't be able to ignore. And no matter how much you try to go back to normal, it won't feel the same. Because once you see even a glimpse of truth, the illusion loses its power. And from that moment on, you are no longer the same person. You've spent your entire life believing you were in control. Every decision, every move, every direction, you thought it was you. But what if that feeling of control was the illusion itself? What if the system never needed to control you directly? It only needed to make you believe you were free. Because once you believe you are choosing, you stop questioning the options. You follow paths that were already laid out. You chase goals that were already defined. And slowly, without realizing it, you become exactly what was expected of you. The scary part isn't that you were controlled, it's that you never noticed. And now, if that control disappears, you don't feel free, you feel lost. Because control was never taken from you, it was replaced with something you couldn't see. There's a voice inside you that you keep ignoring. Not the loud one that overthinks, but the quiet one. The one that speaks in moments of silence. The one that whispers when everything else fades. It doesn't shout. It doesn't force. It just waits. And every time it tries to speak, you drown it out. With noise, with distractions, with people. Because deep down, you know that voice isn't here to comfort you. It's here to reveal something. Something real. Something raw. Something that might change everything you thought you knew about yourself. And the longer you ignore it, the louder your emptiness becomes. Because that voice isn't separate from you, it is you. And one day, you won't be able to silence it anymore. Wake up, do what you always do, think what you always think, feel what you always feel. Repeat day after day. Your life moves forward, but you don't. You call it living, but it's just repetition. A loop so perfect that you don't even notice you're inside. And the most dangerous part, you're comfortable. Because autopilot feels safe. It removes responsibility. It removes awareness. But it also removes you. You stop questioning. You stop growing. You stop being real. And one day, you look back and realize you didn't live your life, you watched it happen. And by the time you notice, most of it is already gone. You think you want the truth, but do you really? Because waking up isn't peaceful. It's not calming. It's not beautiful at first. It's terrifying. It shakes everything. It forces you to see what you've been avoiding your entire life, your patterns, your lies, your false identity, and your ego will fight back. It will tell you to stop, to go back, to stay comfortable. Because waking up means losing everything that made you feel safe. But what if that safety was the prison? What if the fear you feel isn't danger, but transformation? And the question is, are you strong enough to face it? You think you see the world as it is, but you don't. You see it as you were taught to. From the moment you were born, your mind was shaped what's right, what's wrong, what matters, what doesn't. You didn't discover reality, you inherited it, and because everyone around you sees the same version, you never question it. But what if all of it is filtered? What if you've never actually seen the truth? Only a version designed for you to accept. And if that filter breaks, what remains? Because once you realize you were taught how to see, You start to wonder what's been hidden from you. Who are you? Not your name, not your job, not your personality. Strip all of that away, and what's left? Most people never ask these questions because they're afraid of the answer. Your identity feels real, but it's built from experiences, labels, expectations. It's a collection, not a truth. And the deeper you go, the more it starts to dissolve, until you reach a point where you don't recognize yourself anymore. And that moment is where most people turn back, because losing your identity feels like losing everything. But what if that's where you finally find something real? Every notification, every scroll, every piece of content is not random. It's designed, not necessarily to harm you, but to keep you occupied. Because a distracted mind doesn't question, it doesn't reflect, it doesn't wake up, and the system doesn't need to trap you, it just needs to entertain you, keep you engaged, keep you busy, keep you just aware enough to function, but never aware enough to break free. And the worst part, you participate in it willingly, because distraction feels better than truth, until one day it does. There comes a moment when you can't run anymore. Not physically, but mentally. You've distracted yourself once. You've avoided enough. And suddenly, there's nowhere left to go. Just you and your thoughts. And in that silence, everything you've been avoiding rises to the surface. It's uncomfortable. It's overwhelming. But it's also real. And for the first time, you're not escaping, you're facing it. And that moment when you stop running is the moment everything begins to change. You say you want to know the truth, but your actions say otherwise. Because every time you get close to it, you pull back, you distract yourself, you find excuses, not because you are weak, but because truth demands change. It demands that you let go of who you think you are. And that's terrifying, because it means stepping into the unknown. But here's the reality. The truth doesn't destroy you, it reveals you. And the only thing you lose is what was never real to begin with. This isn't the end, this isn't even the answer, this is the beginning. The moment where something shifts inside you, a question, a feeling, a realization you can't fully explain, but you can't ignore either. And from here, everything changes. Not all at once, not dramatically, but quietly. Slowly, you start to see things differently, think differently, feel differently. And even if you try to go back, you can't. Because once awareness begins, it doesn't stop. And the person you were before this moment is already gone. There's a reason you can't sit in silence for too long. The moment everything gets quiet, something inside you starts getting louder. Thoughts you've been avoiding, feelings you buried, questions you never answered. And instead of facing them, you reach for your phone. You play something. You distract yourself. Not because you're bored, but because you're scared. Scared of what might come up if you actually listen. Because silence doesn't lie, it doesn't filter, it doesn't protect your ego. It shows you exactly where you are and exactly who you've become. And maybe that's why you avoid it. Because deep down, you know if you sit with yourself long enough, you'll meet a version of you that you've been running from your entire life. And once you see that version, you won't be able to pretend anymore. You spend so much time building a life you can tolerate that you never ask if it's the life you actually want. You adjust, you settle, you convince yourself that this is enough, that this is normal. But every now and then, something breaks through. A feeling, a thought, a moment where you realize you're not where you're supposed to be. And instead of following that realization, you suppress it. Because chasing truth is risky. It means leaving behind everything familiar, everything comfortable. Everything you built your identity around. But here's the reality. The life you keep avoiding, that's the real one. And the longer you ignore it, the further you drift from who you're meant to become. You keep waiting, waiting for the right moment, waiting for a sign, waiting for someone to tell you it's okay to change, to break out, to become something else. But no one is coming. There's no perfect timing, no clear signal. And deep down, you already know this. You're not waiting for permission. You're hiding behind the idea of it. Because taking control means taking responsibility. And responsibility is heavy. It means you can't blame the system anymore. You can't blame your past. You can't blame anyone but yourself. And that's what scares you. Because the moment you realize you were always capable, you also realize how much time you've wasted pretending you weren't. There's a version of you that never got the chance to exist. Not because it wasn't possible, but because you chose safety over truth. Every time you ignored your instinct, every time you stayed quiet when you wanted to speak, every time you followed instead of questioning, and now it feels distant, almost unreal, like it was never meant to happen. But that version is still there, waiting, not in the future, but inside you. And the longer you ignore it, the heavier it becomes. Because regret doesn't come from failure, it comes from never trying. And one day you'll realize it wasn't the world that stopped you. It was you. There's a point in life where you see too much to go back, where ignorance is no longer an option, where even if you try to return to your old mindset, it doesn't fit anymore. This is that point, not because of this video, but because something inside you is already shifting. You are starting to notice things you ignored before, patterns, behaviors, truth, and it's uncomfortable because awareness comes with responsibility. Once you see clearly, you can't pretend you don't. And from here on, every decision matters more because now you know, and that knowledge will either transform you or haunt you. But one thing is certain, you won't be the same again. You keep telling yourself that one day things will change, that one day you'll figure it all out, that one day you'll finally become who you're supposed to be. But what if that one day was never in the future? What if it has always been right here, just one decision away, and you've been avoiding it this whole time? Think about it. Every moment you felt that pull, that discomfort, that quiet voice telling you to stop, to rethink, to question everything, you ignored it. Not because it wasn't real, but because it was too real. Because following it would mean letting go of everything you built your identity around, your habits, your beliefs, your version of yourself. And that's not easy. In fact, it's terrifying. So instead, you convinced yourself that you are not ready, that you need more time, more clarity, more confidence. But deep down, you know that's not true. You don't need more time. You need honesty. Because the truth is, you've always been this close, not close to success, not close to some external goal, but close to yourself, close to the version of you that doesn't pretend, doesn't hide, doesn't follow blindly. And every time you choose comfort over truth, you step away from it. But every time you pause, every time you listen, every time you question, you move closer again. And maybe that's what scares you the most. Not failure, not change, but the realization that there was never anything stopping you except you. Because once you truly see that, there are no more excuses left. No one else to blame, no system to hide behind, just you, standing in front of your own truth. And from that moment on, everything becomes clear, painfully clear. You either step into it, or you spend the rest of your life knowing you didn't. And now you've reached the end, or at least that's what it looks like. But deep down, you already feel it. This isn't an ending. It's something else, something quieter, heavier, something that doesn't just disappear when the screen goes dark. Because what you've just experienced isn't information, it's awareness. And awareness doesn't leave you the way it found you. It stays. It lingers. It changes the way you see everything. Your thoughts, your choices, your reality. And the strangest part is nothing outside has changed. The same world is still there. The same routine is waiting for you. The same people, the same patterns, the same distractions. But you're not the same anymore. Even if you try to go back, something inside you won't let you. A small voice, a quiet tension, a subtle discomfort that reminds you you've seen something real. And once you see it, even for a moment, the illusion loses its power. You can ignore it, of course. Most people do. You can close this, scroll again, distract yourself, convince yourself that it was just a video, that nothing actually changed. But if you're being honest, you know that's not true. Because something inside you shifted. Maybe just a little. Maybe not enough to change your life instantly, but enough to make you question it. Enough to create a crack in the version of reality you were so comfortable living in. And cracks are dangerous because they spread slowly, quietly, until one day the entire structure can't hold itself together anymore. And this is where it becomes real. Because now it's not about what you watched, it's about what you do next. You are standing at a point most people never reach, not because it's hidden, but because it's avoided. This moment right here, where you can either turn away and go back to sleep, or stay awake and face what comes with it. And let's be honest, waking up isn't easy. It's uncomfortable. It forces you to see things you ignored, to question things you accepted, to let go of versions of yourself you thought were real. It challenges your ego, and your ego will fight back. It will tell you this is too much, that you should stop, that you should go back to what feels safe. But safety was never the truth. It was just familiar. Because the truth is, you were never as lost as you thought. You were just distracted. You were never as powerless as you believed. You were just conditioned. And you were never truly asleep. You were simply taught not to wake up. And now, for the first time, you are starting to see it. Not fully, not clearly, but enough to feel it. Enough to know that something deeper exists beneath everything you've been calling life. And that realization is where everything begins to change. So the question isn't whether this mattered, it already did. The question is, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to forget this moment like all the others? Or are you going to hold on to it even when it's uncomfortable? Even when it forces you to confront yourself? Because this isn't about becoming someone new. It's about removing everything that was never you to begin with. And that process is not easy. It takes courage. It takes honesty. It takes the willingness to stand alone in your own truth, even when everything around you tells you to ignore it. But here's the reality you can't escape anymore. Once you've seen even a glimpse of who you really are, going back becomes impossible. You can pretend, you can delay, but deep down, you'll always know. And that knowing will follow you in your silence, in your thoughts, and one day, whether you're ready or not, you'll have to face it fully. So maybe this was never just a video, maybe this was a moment, a shift, a quiet turning point that doesn't look dramatic from the outside, but changes everything on the inside. And maybe, just maybe, this is the moment your old self ends, and something real finally begins. Because in the end, you were never meant to stay asleep.